Hey yo, what's good? So this video goes out to my wrestling fans and especially the older heads, those that remember watching wrestling in the 70s and the 80s. You guys obviously maybe you guys remember watching the Iron Sheik in the 80s when he would fight Hulk Hogan, wrestle Hulk Hogan, hacks on Jim Duggan when he was WWF champion. This was a really good documentary. This is called The Sheik documentary, released earlier this year. Very informative, very entertainment documentary. It was about an hour and a half, and I honestly felt that it was too short. I was like, ah, I just wish it went like maybe like 20 minutes longer or half an hour longer because it was just really good, especially at the end. It just got it got really informative. Got pretty personal at the end. Well, it started with the Iron Sheik and talking about his wrestling career back in Iran. He's from Tehran, Iran, and he was a very good wrestler in Iran. He was national champion, like one of the best. He said that back then there was two heroes for the athlete in Iran, and one of them was an Iranian wrestler who actually went to the Olympics and he was the first wrestler in Iranian history to medal to medal in the Olympics for wrestling. And so it was that guy. I forgot his name. And Muhammad Ali. So those were the role models for athletes at the time. But it got the time where it was the Shah of Iran. And actually, the Iron Sheik was actually a bodyguard for the Shah because, this is a big guy, a legit guy who could hurt people. And he was actually the bodyguard. So he was wrestling and he was really good at it. He was winning national champions. But something came where the Shah of Iran got really unpopular with the people, and there were the time where they were over trying to overthrow him. And since the Iranian wrestler that I was talking about, he was very popular with the Shah of Iran. They had a working relationship. They tried to kill him. So, and eventually he committed suicide. But really, people think that he was murdered, but it was ruled a suicide. So the Sheik was like, "Oh man, I can't stay here. They're gonna do me like they did this guy." So he immigrated to America, and this is where the American dream starts. He's the personification of the American dream. So he came to the United States. He was coaching wrestling. I think he won 3 AAU gold medals, which is like a very prestigious event. That gave out gold medals. He has like three of those. He became coaching high school and college wrestling. In college is actually where he met his wife. But this is when Vern Gagne, the owner of the AWA, saw him and decided like, oh man, this guy's a bad man. And actually, when he started wrestling, he was bad. He was ripped, chiseled. People were scared to wrestle him because he could legitimately hurt you because he was a great wrestler. Like he could twist you up and legitimately hurt someone. So they were afraid to wrestle him, but he was just so good. But like he didn't really gain much work because he was no gimmick. Like he was just a straight shooter. That's why Bernie Gagne liked him because he was a legitimate athlete and a legitimate wrestler. But he's like, dude, how do I get more popular? How do I get bigger? And they're like, let's give you a gimmick. You're from Iraq. Why don't we make you a sheik? So they gave him that headdress thing, and he had a full set of hair. They shaved his head. He worked on that mustache that you see on the screen right here. And they're like, "You're the Iron Sheik," and this is where he got big heat. Funny thing is that his wife actually hated. She's like, "I hated the shaved head. I hated the mustache. She hated everything." But this was his best. You see it. You see, he's still the Sheik, big Sheiky baby. This was the gimmick that made him. This is the gimmick that got him so much heat, man. And heat, in wrestling terms, is like the boos from the crowd. In wrestling, there's villains, which are heels, and heroes, who are babyface. He's one of the best heels in the business. And this documentary was really good. It had a lot of good, a lot of big stars talking about it. It had Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Jake the Snake Roberts, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Jim Ross, bunch of guest stars talking about the Shiki baby. So this was when he picked up heat, man, and he actually, this is what made him actually, they built him up to the point where he fought for the WWF Championship. Because interesting thing is, Bob Backlund didn't want to. They wanted Bob Backlund to lose his title to Hulk Hogan. He was like in a 5 years plus world title reign, but he didn't want to lose to Hulk Hogan because he didn't respect Hulk Hogan as an athlete. But he respected the Iron Sheik as an athlete because he was a legit athlete who could hurt you bad. So he lost to the Iron Sheik, and this is a transition. Without the Iron Sheik, there's no WrestleMania. So the Iron Sheik was a transitional champion to develop Hulk Hogan. And there's no shame in being a transitional champion. Especially the Iron Sheik was the most important transitional champion in wrestling history, because without the Iron Sheik, without the hate of this guy, this foreigner who represented everything that, America hated at that time, because they were over there in the Iranian, in the Gulf War and all that. This was the perfect time for. This was when wrestling had the balls to, to take risks and to offend people. This is when wrestling had the balls to do that with the Iron Sheiki baby. Be like, shut your mouth to the crowd. But he presented this foreigner, this evil doer, and Hulk Hogan presented that white, American, Americana, say your prayers and eat your vitamins type of guy. And that was a perfect opponent. And Vern Gagne, the owner of the AWA, was gonna pay the Iron Sheik $100,000 to break Hulk Hogan's neck and take the WWF title back to the AWA. And Iron Sheik could have easily done that. But he didn't. He didn't have the heart to go through it because he's a real champion, man. He could have broke Hulk Hogan's leg. He could have broken his back, beat him, and taken the title back to the AWA, got himself $100,000. But he didn't do it. That just shows leaps and bounds of his character, man. They're like, a lot of people would have done it, man. Especially at that time. A lot of people didn't like Hulk Hogan. And actually, Jake the Snake Roberts says, he's like, man, I think the wrestling business would have probably been better if the Iron Sheik had broken his leg. He says, because he's like, he says something of the like I'm a cynical bastard and all this. And if Hulk Hogan, if Sheik had broken Hogan's leg, he's saying that a lot of these other guys would have had the chance to shine, because a bunch of these guys like Big Boss Man, King Kong Bunny, and even like the Macho Man Randy Savage, they were fed to Hulk Hogan. Like even Andre the Giant, they were fed to Hulk Hogan, man. He's like, if you're gonna wrestle Hulk Hogan, it's gonna be a one-time thing, because he's gonna win. And back then it was, you could still do that and have like a program for a year or two, because they didn't wrestle that much. They only wrestled like once a month in like Madison Square Garden and that stuff because they didn't have TV dates like they do now. But without WrestleMania, without the Iron Sheik, no WrestleMania, and without the WrestleMania, I mean, without Hulkamania, wrestling business does not go worldwide like a Vince McMahon, who was a visionary, who is the greatest um, CEO of any wrestling corporation that there has ever been, bar none. As much as I don't like it, but fast forward, the Sheiky baby gets fired, and I'm not gonna spoil. It's pretty good, and I'm not gonna spoil two things. This is one. He gets fired, and he's in the independent scene. He gets depressed. He There's another tragic event that happened in his family. I'm not gonna say what it is because you need to watch this movie. He he just goes into drugs, cocaine, started doing crack, marijuana, started becoming alcoholic, man. And he was wrestling in the independent scene all the while, dude. And he was an old man. You can see his ankles being messed up until some guys from Iran, some of his fans from Iran, helped build him up, man. They're like, dude, you're the Iron Sheik, you're the legend. And he'd be like pissed off because they're telling him, be like, man, you're not in my body. What the fuck are you talking about? Just talking all this stuff. He'd be then it'd be like, man, why? Why are you yelling? I'm trying to help you. Be like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. He's like, I'm telling you a million times that you're a legend, but I'm just trying to help you get back on your feet. And these guys are responsible for him actually becoming a social media star. And then they talk about his Twitter accounts, like how he's just hilarious on Twitter, man. The Iron Sheik is gold on Twitter, and if you ever seen some of his videos on YouTube, you you know that the Iron Sheik is hilarious. So these guys actually brought him back to prominence, and now because of the social media and his, it's kind of like a resurgence of his career, of his popularity. Like, they show him taking pictures with all these celebrities: Adam Sandler, LL Cool J, Jay-Z, like taking pictures with all these guys that want to take a picture with the legend, the Iron Sheik, because these guys brought him back to prominence, because he was wrestling in the independent scene, losing to like some independent guys who never freaking who couldn't freaking hold his jock strap. You know what I mean? Like, cause the Sheiky baby's a legend, but he should never have been in that position in the first place if he hadn't been suspended. But since then, he had been like depressed, doing drugs, and these guys got him out of the hole. And they knew with the social media, because he's so outgoing, he's so funny, and he's just such a cool person, man. And there's only one Cheeky baby, so they knew with his personality that he could be a big star, especially in the social media era. Because they said it started with that Kramer, when he said, he went out the rampage, started saying the N word over and over and over when he was on stage, and he gave his reaction. And he's like, Kramer, I will break your back, and then I'm gonna fuck you in the ass. And that got like 500,000 views within 3 days. And they're like, we got something here. I'm talking about his Twitter. Let me read some of his. This is 2 hours ago. He's like, Chris Brown win award for fucking jabroni. And then 4 hours ago, he's like, fuck the Dwight Howard. I break your back because I am the legend. Yeah. This guy's he's like, the Jerry Lawler know who the jabroni and the jabroni security is, Bubba. Never, ever, ever forget who the fuck is the legend. So I'm gonna read a couple more, just cause the Sheiky baby is a legend. LA Clippers play like LA jabronis, Bubba. The bull played like the balls, but he's like, fuck the jabronis. This guy is hilarious on social media, and these guys don't tweak what he says. They just write what he says because he's not that well versed in technology. But they know they don't change his verse because he's one of a kind, and they got him out of this rut through the social media. So all in all, a very entertaining documentary. I wish they had gone more in depth, like in his drug habits and all that. They showed like a part where he was like ordering, like the a screen turned black, and he was like, yeah, is this brown good? How much? And he's like, and you hear the guy like, did he used to be a wrestler? And he's like, yeah, Sheik, Iron Sheik, and I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, this is good though. And but I kind of wish they had gone more in depth. Jake the Snake Roberts did great in this documentary, man, because he knows the rise and then the fall. The Iron Sheik had that fall, but Jake the Snake did great insights on drugs, and he's like, dude, we medicate. We need to medicate because we like it, you know. I mean, like, if you give me drugs and I like doing drugs, you best believe I'm gonna do it again. So great insight from Jake the Snake Roberts, but great documentary, man. I just wish it was a little bit longer, but no gripes here. I'll probably give it like a B plus to an A minus just because of that. Just those minor details. They could have done a little bit more, but all in all, it was very good. Hey, go check it out. And thanks for watching. Especially if you're a wrestling fan, or if you're a wrestling fan in the 80s, watch this. If you're not, you still got to watch this because you got to learn about the legend of the Iron Sheik. All right. Thanks for watching. Please comment your thoughts below and subscribe. Peace.